All right. So, just like last year, I was showing Noelle the video this morning, and she wanted me to ask you, growing up as kids, what did your backyard look like?
Oh, my.
What did you want to know?
Noelle wants to know what, as a kid, what your backyard looked like.
We had
Train?
board tennis in the backyard. We played ball in the backyard. And out at the garage, we played basketball about every day, even in the wintertime.
That's when you were living in Moorfield back
Yeah.
here? Yeah, downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, we moved here in 1957.
Seven.
7, I think, yeah.
We moved here.
So we've been living in this same house since 1957. Added on to it a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What did your backyard look like when you were growing up, Mom?
The backyard here,
No, back in Petersburg.
At your house when
Oh,
you were growing up as a
Petersburg.
girl.
oh, well, we had ducks in a big old barrel, like a wash tub, I guess, and we'd take them out to the water, or we'd put a board up to the washboard, and they'd walk in. And I had a rocking chair. I'd carry out a little rocking chair and dress up the cat and sit out there and rock that cat. Cat probably didn't like it, but that's what I did a lot. And as I got older, well, we used to go out and get the clay mud along the bank, and we'd make furniture and little people and play with that outside. Paper dolls, we'd get paper dolls out of a catalog and cut out clothes for them and play with them. So, yeah, that's what we did.
Made a lot of your
We
own
had
toys.
chickens in our backyard, chicken house, and the chickens off to the side of the backyard.
We had chickens too. We had a chicken we lived in town, and we had a barn,
Yeah, we had a barn,
and we had
cow.
a cow. We had chickens up on the second floor of the barn. We kept the cow on the other side. We raised hogs in the middle of town there, and used to have to take the cow every summer to a couple blocks down the street, and where it could get more grass to eat. Sometimes I would ride that cow down there, and my dad had dogs, hunting dogs, and
Beagles.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what. And when I got older, there was a bus shed. There's an alleyway behind our house, between other houses further back, and I had some cousins that lived back there, and I used to go over there, and we used to climb up on the bus shed roof, and we'd take some kind of paper to
Wax paper.
make it slick, and we would ride down. It had a metal roof, and we would ride down, jump off it down to the bottom of it. So we played there a lot over there.
Who
And
did
that's
you
What we did.
Who did you play with the most growing up?
Well, to play, I had friends that lived across the street from me, and her name was Norma Oates, and she was my age, and they had a big family. I used to play with her a lot, and my sister was the same age as her sister, so the four of us kind of fooled around together or played around together. And I played with Mary Diedrich. She was my cousin. Played with her a lot. And that's just the kids there. And we used to stay out late at night and we'd play night games. I can't remember. Knock the wicket or hit the wicket or something, and or hide and seek or something. We'd be a gang of us get together there, either on my cousin's house there or at our house, and play those games.
We did the same thing.
Yeah. What was it? Red Rover.
Let
I
someone
dare
come
someone
over.
Yeah.
And Papa, who are your best friends growing up?
We lived there right before the chicken plant was started. We had a group called the Cat Alley Gang. There were about 10 or 12 of those kids lived in that alley, going back to Rockingham. It was kind of a company alley. The company built houses, and all those kids, we'd get together with them, or they'd be over at our house. Like I said, we had a two-car garage out there, and we had a basket bank board and basket, and we was always playing basketball, even in the summer and the winter. But we'd get together with a group. It was a good group.
Do you remember who all was in it, or
What?
do you remember the people that were in it?
Yeah, Borden and myself and Wendell and Harlan, Johnny Vance, Kenny Vance, Dale Southerly, Buck Miller,
Pete Vance.
the Bar Boys, Slim and Merle. Who'd you say?
Pete Vance. You didn't.
Yeah, Pete Vance.
And you go to school
And they
with...
grew up. He grew up. We were a very good group. If we were playing at noon with somebody around our house, we'd eat with them. And it was the same way with us. If they were at our house, they'd come in and eat, and Mother would fix something for them.
The whole group would come in and eat?
A lot of times,
Huh.
she'd fix for them.
How old were you when the Cat Alley Gang started? Were you pretty young?
Yeah, I was pretty young. We just moved over here
How old were you?
in '35. And I was about 4, 5.
Hmm.
And that was about the age of the group. We're all about the same age, not too old. Warden was the oldest, Buck Miller, Dale Southerly. But they all went to high school and they were good athletes.
Did the Cat Alley Gang stay intact all the way through high school?
All the way through.
You all would hang out together even when you got older?
Yeah, Wendell and I was the only last one of them left. One girl, Betty Hardy, she was Betty Southerly. She's still living.
Well, you all had a get together, kind of like
Yeah,
not too long ago though.
yeah, we met out to camp,
Yeah.
the cat alley gang.
Somebody's got a recording of that too.
Yeah.
We have a recording.
You all have the recording of it?
Yeah, we got a tape of it.
Mhm.
A lot of them are gone now.
Mhm.
So, growing up, for holidays like Christmas or Easter or Thanksgiving, would you all often go over to like your grandparents' house or stay at your house?
When I was growing up, I can't remember much about
That's what we didn't,
holidays.
Christmas wasn't a big deal
No, we,
with us. Of course, we were fairly poor. We couldn't afford, mother couldn't afford to have much for Christmas.
well, you
My
had
father died when I was only 5, and there were 7 of us kids. So Christmas wasn't a big deal, but we always had something to eat.
I can't remember much about the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really have any relatives that came to the house at Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were, when the Depression, George's
Yeah,
family had a rough time. I don't remember being poor. My dad worked on the railroad, my mom didn't work, and we had, that I can remember, we had something to eat, and I just don't remember the Depression. It didn't, it's like it didn't affect
I
us,
remember
did George.
when we lived over at Baker before we moved to Moorfield. I can remember people coming up our driveway wanting something to eat and wanting to work for that something to eat. And Mother would always feed them. She baked an awful lot of bread and made apple butter in the fall. And she'd make them an apple butter sandwich. I can remember that. They'd want to work for it.
Your dad died when you were
Yeah,
young.
he was a sawmill man, sheriff.
Do you remember the Great Depression affecting you all a lot, Papa?
Yeah, everybody was poor then.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody.
But I didn't.
You go around, they'd have, like we make apple butter, they would gather at somebody's house, peel apples, and make the apple butter for them. And then they would come to our house and make it.
Yeah.
It was a community thing, but everybody worked together, but everybody was poor. I mean, as today, we raised hogs, chickens.
Butchered.
We had plenty to eat. We canned. Mother canned all summer for the winter. But
Dad, how were y'all able to move from Baker to that? I mean, that house you had in Moorfield was a nice house.
it was,
I mean, that was, if you moved there in the mid-30s, that was right at the end of the Depression. How
we
could
thought
you?
we died and going to heaven. We didn't have running water over at Baker. An outhouse. And we moved to Moorfield. We had a bathroom, bathtub, commode, It was a nice house. He bought it, Dr. Poindexter house.
That's who owned it before?
Yeah.
How did your dad afford to be able to do that? Because he must have been doing pretty good at that
Yeah,
point.
well, over at Baker, he was head of that whole field was lumber. J.P. Natchwood Lumber Company. And he run that. And he had 3 sawmills of his own. He was doing pretty good. But, you know, they didn't have a lot of money, but he bought that
Somehow,
house,
yeah.
and we thought we'd died and gone to heaven.
I bet.
And I lived in the same house. I was born in the house and lived in the same house until I got married.
Well, y'all lived in a nice house in Petersburg too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we had
It was nice.
Yeah. And it
Well,
was
her
just-
father was engineer on train.
Mm-hmm.
It was just 2 of us, 2 girls.
Now, along with the Depression, do you remember World War II and how, like, feeling scared or anything at that
Oh,
time?
yeah, I
Or?
remember World War II very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I had trouble.
Warden was drafted out of high school into service.
How old was he when he went?
Pardon?
How old was he when he went?
I would say he was 18,
Mm-hmm.
17, somewhere.
17 or 18.
Hadn't finished school yet.
He hadn't graduated yet. They let him graduate after he was drafted
Mm-hmm.
to finish school so that that would help him.
Mm-hmm.
There were
His whole class were drafted into the service.
So he was a senior in high school?
Yeah.
and
And
there were others too that they went out together,
Mhm.
Warden and several other fellas
yeah.
who that had to was drafted same time.
Mm-hmm.
If the war hadn't ended, I'd been in it too.
Mm-hmm.
I was examined and passed the physical exam. And I was
On the list.
on the list to be drafted.
What grade were you in when Warden got drafted?
I was ninth.
Ninth
Probably.
grade, freshman?
I would have been drafted had it not ended.
Hmm.
He was drafted later in the other war.
Yeah, and the Korean War broke
Yeah.
out.
How old were you when you went to the Korean War?
20,
Mm-hmm.
22, probably.
And you were in, was it Germany at that?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
You were what?
In Germany.
Was considered an occupational service. Helped build Germany back,
Mhm.
really.
He was playing ball when he was drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was in November, and then we got married a couple of days before he went into the service. And then his unit was divided, and half of them went to Germany and half of them went to Korea. And George was just very, very lucky that he was in the ones that went to Germany.
Yeah,
Because the fellas who went to the Korean War, George said,
about all of them got wiped out.
Wow.
almost none of them came back.
Well, we were sent to Germany with the idea that Russia was trying to take Berlin. They wanted to hold, they had a section of Berlin, and they wanted to take all of it. They wanted all of Berlin. And they would come over into our section and disrupt the whole outfit. So that's why they sent us to Germany at that time.
To
With the
stop it.
exception, if we, when we got them settled down, we'd go on to Korea.
Mm-hmm.
But lucky for me, our unit didn't have to go.
Mm-hmm. And Uncle Wendell went over too, right?
He was in England,
Mm-hmm.
Air Force, in England. Harlan had to go to Korea,
Oh, wow.
our youngest brother.
Did Uncle Warden have to fight in the Korean War? Or?
No, he didn't. He was out. He was on an aircraft carrier in World War II.
Mm-hmm. So he didn't get called up for the
Yeah.
Korean War.
And the Russian occupation, that ended up becoming East Berlin.
Yeah. That was before the wall. They put the wall up. That's why we had problems. They'd come over in our section and kind of riot or disrupt everything. When we went to Germany, they gave us live ammunition with the idea that we were going to Berlin to
Fight.
straighten it out. But they got it straightened out before we had to go in there.
Mm.
And no one knew y'all were married before you went, right?
No.
And then came on back and told everyone the news.
See, we got married and I left for the service the next
2 days later.
2 days after we got married.
They didn't tell anyone because they wanted Grandma,
Mm-hmm.
Paul's mother, to get did you get that?
Yeah.
Benefits. If something happened, Grandma wanted
Yeah.
his mom to get the benefits, not her.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't gonna keep it for, we'd just keep, I'll tell it for a while. And it wasn't, we
Didn't
got
s-
married in November and December. We were out at Caledonia Heights. That's a place where people went to dance, teenagers. It was a nice place then. And some boy came up to us and said, "Oh, I've read in the paper where George Hott and Betty Carter got married in Virginia." So we just told it then, and I just gave George's mother money because she needed it at the time, and I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So the money that came from George, I'd give to her. So,
The secret was out.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Now, when we talked last year, Pawpaw, you said you think your parents probably met at a barn dance. That sound about right?
That's probably about right.
Do you remember what kind of music they would play at those barn dances?
Old bluegrass, whatever. Biggest drum up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember going to any of those barn dances?
Yeah. Once or twice I remember staying there at the grandma's. We went to a couple of them.
That was over in
That
Kirby?
that was an experience. They had, most of the guys had high top boots and hobnail on the bottom of them, making noise.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they get out there and stomp. It was an experience.
And Grandma, you said growing up there was a place called Hilltop that was a dance hall.
Yeah.
Was that also bluegrass music they played there? Or?
No, that was, what would you call it?
We did our what?
The music up at the Hilltop was
Juke-
dance music.
Jukebox.
Popular music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was. They just played. And it was a pretty nice place.
Yeah, it was good.
Where was that? Up on the hill there when you're going out of town, up toward
Yeah,
Up
right.
there
where
where
the Legion
Sheets
is?
is, right across from Sheets.
Hmm.
And then when I was in high school, we would, to go swimming, we would walk from my house up to the hilltop and on back down on the other side and go to a swimming hole. And we walked. No one took us. We walked that. Then there was another place there behind the high school. And then there on the bridge, town bridge, we used to swim in that too.
Mm-hmm.
But we walked every place we went.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have, well, we did have a vehicles later when I got old enough. My sister did, for some reason, didn't get her license until I did, and so we both got our license together, and then we were allowed to use the car a lot. So we just didn't really want for anything. Dad was the conductor on the railroad, and one time he took me. He let me ride on the caboose, which is the last car on the train, and he let me ride all the way down to Green Springs, and I got back. I don't know how. I guess he brought me back. I don't know, but I know I really liked that. There was a bunk bed kind of like up high and a window right there. I could see everything as we went past. My sister never did ride in it. I think my sister was my mom's favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe my dad was, I think I was his favorite. He let me do it and did a lot of things with me.
So that was a passenger train that he was on.
At one time, yes.
And a lot of people, that riding the train to get different places, that was pretty common back then.
Yeah. And
From
then-
Petersburg to Cumberland.
So a lot of people would ride the train if they were going to
Yeah,
Cumberland.
Yeah.
at that time, yeah.
So did you take the bus to school, walk to school, ride a bike to school?
Walk.
We walked to school.
Yeah, Mom would make me wear these long roll-up stockings that I didn't like. And as soon as I got out of where Mom couldn't see me, I'd roll them down to my knees. But we walked, yeah. We walked high school and
And they didn't have hot lunch at that time. We'd walk home for lunch, walk back.
yeah.
About how long of a walk was it for?
It was from the plant over there, where we lived, our home, up to Brethren Church. You know where that is.
The old grade school. Where we went
The
to
old
visit.
grade school, it was up there. Well, it was a 1 through 12 school. But we walked up there and back. And
That was
home for lunch, back up again.
longer walk than I had to. I didn't have that. I walked is about a block,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, to the grade school, and then I walked back then up to the high school. So I played basketball when I was in high school, where they only played. We could only play half. It was called half court.
Mm-hmm.
We played every place, but there was only one player that could move and go over the line there at half court. The rest of us had to stay on that side, but I can't remember. I think it was 3 forwards and 2 guards,
Mm-hmm.
and the guard would move when the ball was up on the other side. And my dad was a really good. He liked sports. He would have liked the fact that George and I got married. He would have liked that. And he died that year that we got married. But anyway, they used to have tournaments up there, and Dad would help them with the work. And he was into sports a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So he supported you playing ball? He liked the fact that you were playing ball?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
Did Ann Hun play sports?
Yeah. Yeah, she might have played basketball too, I'm not sure. And we were cheerleaders in
Yeah.
high school,
She was cheerleader.
and I was too.
Yeah.
And the girls that I told you about that lived across the street that I played with, she and her sister were cheerleaders. So there was, at the same time, it was those two and Hon and I, so that were cheerleaders together.
Now, were you allowed to wear shorts when you played basketball back then, or?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't have any softball or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball was the only thing. Now I don't know how long whether they kept basketball or quit and started again. I don't know. I can't remember
It
that.
didn't last.
How long were the cheerleading skirts?
What was that?
How long were you cheerleading?
4 years. The 4 years in high school.
Well, she wants to know how long were the
How long
skirts?
were your skirts?
Oh, I can't remember what we wore. I don't remember what we wore.
They're just regular shorts. The way I refereed a lot of
Might have
the
been short skirts.
ball games.
What about the cheerleaders' skirts?
Might have been.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how long they were?
No, I don't know. They were.
I thought they might be kind of long.
Probably not down to here.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say up here anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Dad, you used to referee, you refereed for a long time, didn't you?
Yeah. A lot of
I
basketball.
forgot about that.
Was that one of the jobs you had?
Yeah, it was a supplemental
Mm-hmm.
job at night, weekends.
Mm-hmm.
George's father was a sheriff, and he had an uncle who was sheriff around the county. And George's father went out one night. What was he?
Shoemaker gang from over in Lost City, over where we have our hunting camp.
Robinette wanted him to go out with him to
He was a town
town
policeman,
cop. That was it. I was trying to think of.
town cop.
And got pneumonia. It was raining that night. And he got pneumonia, double pneumonia, and he died. And that's what killed him. And the paper, the Moorefield Examiner, had a write-up about the funeral, and it said it was some funeral. I mean, they
Biggest
had,
funeral they'd had.
they'd never
Yeah.
had a funeral like that before. They had cops from the whole state that came here for that funeral, and on motorcycles. And George's dad, they took him down to,
Kirby.
yeah, to the place called, they had a Hott chapel
Hott's Chapel.
down there. And they took him down there, and the cops followed him all the way down. It was really some, people really liked his father.
Now, is the Hott's Chapel, is that where y'all went to church growing up, or
Well,
where'd you go to church when you were younger?
I went to Methodist church up here.
Duffy?
Yeah,
Before that. Do you remember going to church before that? When you lived over Baker?
Baker there. We went to Sunday school and church there, right there at Baker.
I don't know how it got the name Hott's Chapel.
Well, it was mostly Hott's in that area.
Yeah.
So Dad, growing up, while your dad was alive, you all went to church about every Sunday?
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
Yeah, he took us to church, Sunday school.
Was
He
he
was very
involved
active.
in? Was he involved in the church at all?
Yeah, he was pretty active in the church. Whatever they needed to do. But he saw that we got to Sunday school, and he really helped Mother. And then after he passed away, Mother always seen that we got to Sunday school and church.
Now, you were living over here when he passed away in Moorfield. So after he passed away, she still made sure all of you went to church at Duffy?
She really highly recommended it. When Ward and I was playing ball, we'd have to go miss church
Mm-hmm.
to go to the Cumberland or Bedford, those West Vaco, those places. We'd have to leave before church. Mother didn't approve of it, but she didn't stop us from going. But she always, if we were out late at night on Saturday night, just fooling around, she would make get up Sunday and
You're going
get to church.
And did you go to church when you were growing up, Grandma?
Yes. Church wasn't, Methodist church wasn't very far from where I lived. It was just at the end of the block. So yeah, we always went to church.
What stores did you often go shop at? If you had to get groceries or clothes or anything like that, where would you normally go to?
We had a little store right down below us called Helmick and Arnold. Two men run it. And they it was a grocery store and a meat store. They butchered hogs and calves and cows. And that's where we,
Where was this, Dad? Where was that store?
right down.
Was it Moorfield?
Yeah, where Hank Fisher lived there.
Okay.
That office building there, there was that store was right there. They had groceries and They were fine men. A lot of times we hit hard times. Mother they would help her get meat or something.
Mm.
We ate a lot of liver and side meat. And, they were fine gentlemen.
So even if you couldn't
They
pay
helped
for it, they'd help you
Oh
out.
yeah, they would help her.
That's what we did when we were raising you children. We would, Oz's store was up there, town, there at the stoplight, and they would write down, we would charge it, they would write down everything that we bought. And then when we got the monthly pay, I would pay as much of it as I could. A lot of times I couldn't pay for all of it because we didn't have that much money. It was just George working. And so we would pay, they'd let us pay what we could on it.
Yeah. Boy, she would always say, if you can't afford it this month, wait till next month.
Mm.
Pat. That was Tom Hall's.
Yeah. And then-
Money, Doug's mother, she was the head waiter in there. And she always wrote down what we bought.
And then if the car needed work on it, we didn't have enough money to pay for it, we can pay a little every month. They don't do that anymore, but back when you all were young, they did that. Because we only had one paycheck coming in and it wasn't very much. Teaching school was a low-paying job. So, but we never went hungry, the kids never went hungry. You didn't like the food sometimes, and you
Like our steak.
fuss about it
Oh no, not steak again.
because it was tough, and they'd fuss and we'd say, well, people in China would like to have this food.
Yeah, send it over to them.
yeah, the kids said, well, send it over there.
They can have it.
Yeah,
Butchered
they like that steak.
Paul Leatherman's one of his old cows, and it was tough, I guess.
Well, I should have made a hamburger out of it. But steak looked pretty good. But every time we'd have it, oh no, not steak again.
Yeah.
And Grandma, what store did you go to whenever you were younger to whenever you had to get groceries or clothes or something? Where would you go to?
Where would I go?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the grocery store went to Tom Hall's. That was the only store really that I went to for groceries, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And clothes, I don't know where I went to
Might
clothes.
take one trip to Cumberland.
My sister would always, Sherry was the only girl for a while, for several years, and she would always buy clothes for her, and of course just give it to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I went to Cumberland every now and then. I drove to Cumberland, and I would go clothes shopping down there. But she went quite often, and she would get her clothes.
Mm-hmm.
What were the names of those stores in Cumberland that we used to shop at? Rosenblum was one of them.
Yeah. I can't
Murphy's 5 and 10.
And I remember that. They had a soda fountain.
Yeah.
Sherry would remember all of them.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I can't remember that either. I can see them, but I can't
Yeah,
remember the
that's
name
what
of them.
Did y'all ever take any family trips anywhere?
Yeah, we went to Buckrow Beach about every summer, didn't we?
Yeah.
I remember going down there several times. I don't have a lot of memories of that. I remember the ocean a little bit. I remember us staying in a place that was probably a few blocks off the beach.
Yeah.
A house.
Yeah.
Or Camp Lake.
Did you ever take any trips with your family whenever you were a boy? Go with your mom and your brothers and sisters, or?
Did y'all have any vacations when you were growing up where you went someplace as a family?
Not
With
that
our
I-
family,
not
yeah.
that
No, when you were growing up, Mom, before you were married, when you were.
You
I
know,
I can't remember. I
Uh,
can't.
going on any vacations or, I went to Baltimore one time. My dad had a brother that lived there, and I stayed with him for maybe, I don't know how long, maybe a week. I'm not sure it was that long, but and then I remember going to another place that must have been an apartment and somebody that was related to us. And I remember going outside and the door shut behind me and it locked when it shut. And I remember being really scared, wondering how I was going to get back in the house. And I can't remember now how I did get back in there, but I know I was really scared because I was locked out.
We as a family would visit people, but we never took. I don't remember ever taking a whole family vacation.
Mm-hmm.
When you were in high school, it was probably pretty rare to even travel out of the county, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Except unless you were playing ball somewhere.
Yeah, that, playing ball, we went to Fairmont, places like that, Cumberland.
Did y'all ever go camping when you were growing up?
I don't remember ever camping.
I used to go up to the log camp, logging camp. They were cutting timber, lumber. I'd go up there and stay a day or so.
With your dad?
And Ray, my cousin,
He was running that camp.
yeah, Dad had passed away, and Ray would run the sawmills. And he'd come in town for something, and we'd ride back up with him. They stayed in old shacks made out of sawed lumber,
Scraps.
scraps. You could throw a cat out to crack any place. But they fed him good.
What were some of the jobs that you all had growing up? You know, if you go back and think about all the different jobs that you actually got paid for, what were some of the jobs that you can remember?
I remember two. I worked in Murphy's 5 and 10 cent store as a clerk. And I worked in a theater out where they sell the tickets. I worked in the ticket booth in the theater. In fact, that's maybe the first time I really saw George up close, I guess, I would say. He came to the movies with Marguerite, his sister. And I of course, Warden was dating Hun, my sister, and George and then some of the boys would come to Petersburg. We'd be sitting out front there along the sidewalk with my friends. I remember Norma especially, but I don't remember the others that sat there with me. And the boys would come from Kaiser or Franklin, and some of them come from Moorfield. And they would, if we were sitting out there, they would stop and talk.
So the
But
movie.
that was the two
Well, I was-
jobs I had.
10, I went up to stay with Martin on at the store. And I had a job. I'd have to get up in the morning and build the fires in the store and the kitchen and the living room before I went to school, before I ate breakfast. Rode the bus to school.
You
I
stayed
did that for 5 years,
5 years.
Hmm.
but I could run the store by myself.
When you were 10,
I
12
did,
years
Bob.
old.
10, 12, 13.
Hmm. That's pretty amazing. So he'd go off sometimes and let you run the store?
Yeah, he'd go Cumberland, go buy stuff from the store, and leave me there to run it. But I could run it.
You used to, didn't you set up bowling pins at one of the at that little alley or something?
Yeah, we had a bowling alley, it was old, it wasn't very good one, just 2 lanes. Called duck pins. We wanted enough money for the movies or something like that, we'd set that pins for the Busy Bee.
The Busy Bee. And that was right there, right downtown.
Yeah, right in, across from,
Close to the theater.
yeah, right, very close to.
So you and some of the other boys would set up pins so you made enough money to get a movie ticket.
Yeah, go to the movies. Movies cost 15 cents.
And was that the movie theater here in Moorfield, or was that in Petersburg? you go?
No, I was in Moorfield.
And Grandma, was the movie theater you worked at in Petersburg?
Was there what?
The theater you worked at, was that one in Petersburg?
Yes.
Yeah.
How did you get to
Alpine.
Petersburg, Dad?
Huh?
How would you get from Moorfield to Petersburg back then?
You could drive. You were old enough to drive then.
Yeah, the
Some of the boys
boys had vehicles.
Hmm.
dated some girls up there too.
So what were some of your summer jobs, Dad? I remember you had several summer jobs when
I
we were
worked
growing
at
up.
the State Park
Lost
for
River.
3 years. And
What would you do over there?
mow grass, lifeguard.
This was in the
Take care
summer
of the
when you were
cabin.
going to school, when you were going to college?
No, I was just going to school, high school.
Okay.
Johnny Paul got us those jobs.
Oh, there
Take care
were
of the cabins,
People.
wood, and get wood for them. Ice. At that time they had ice refrigerators. You put a chunk of ice in
a chunk of ice. Yeah,
Icebox.
the ice box.
that's
Yeah.
what I had at home.
Well, everybody had an ice box,
Yeah,
just about.
be a pickup driving around town with ice on the back of it. And they would chop off a chunk of ice to bring into the house, and then those kids would be standing there beside them, and they'd chip off a little chunk of it for us to
Putting you around.
suck. Yeah, suck on it. But that was our refrigerator then. That we had a chunk of ice in it.
I remember some of your jobs when I was growing up, Dad. I know you ran the projector at the drive-in theater.
And
that's-
you work for the Board of Education.
Yeah. We do roofs, repair work, floors.
And you help with someone's garden too, right?
Yeah, had 2 or 3 gardens. Miss Harmon,
Yeah.
Miss Malaire, and ours.
Mm-hmm.
You and your mother can.
Yeah.
Raygold. You worked at Raygold too, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you do there?
I'm making cabinet doors.
Now that was in the summertime, or
That was in between baseball. I come back and I just did that a couple of years, couple summers or winters, to go back to baseball or college when you was college.
the drive-in theater, was that just on weekends?
No, I was out every night in the summertime.
So you'd have a summer job during the day and then you'd do that at night?
Yeah.
Anything you could do to make ends meet and put a little money
Yeah,
aside?
We did pretty good.
Yeah, you did.
We didn't really hope for anything. No.
No, I remember Christmas for us was a big deal. This whole room would be full of toys.
A lot of them at a Warden
Warden
store,
store
or Christmas would be,
and plastics.
yeah, toys.
That old monkey.
So Uncle Warden would work with you at Christmas time and make sure we had toys?
Oh yeah, he'd help us.
George worked down there. He,
I'd help you an awful lot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what did you guys normally have, you, Daddy? Like a go-to meal for Christmas or Easter or anything?
What was that?
She asked, "What did we have a traditional meal when we were growing up for Christmas time?" My grandmother.
We'd have buckwheat cakes Christmas morning
Mm-hmm.
with everything. And she'd bake a coconut cake. I remember we'd have every Christmas we'd have that coconut cake.
Mm.
we
Beautiful thing, cake.
always had
And I
to,
loved it.
we always had to wait for Hon and Morden to get up here
Yeah.
Christmas morning, because they wanted to be here when you all opened up the gifts. And so there was a window here, there wasn't
Over there.
any room out there, and you all would climb up on the chair and look for the,
Every car came up. This is
yeah.
them. This got to be them.
Well, we
They'd
must have
go on by and then we'd have.
gotten up at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember Meemaw would be out here with us. I don't know, y'all were maybe still in bed. She'd be out here with us on the couch. It had to be 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning. And then we'd look out the window, and you could see back then there were not all these houses and trees. So any car coming from Oldfields, you could see the
Yeah.
headlights coming.
Down there to the,
This got to be them.
yeah.
Then they go by and always having all moaning and groaning.
So even back then, we did buckwheat cakes on Christmas back when we were kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that something y'all did whenever you were kids too? I know you had buckwheat cakes pretty often, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But did your mom make them on Christmas morning as well?
Mom, George's mom, I can't remember. She came down some
Yeah, she would come down.
on Christmas Day, I think it was.
Was she really? I don't remember that. She came down on Christmas Day when we were
I think
kids?
so.
Mm-hmm.
She came down some, I know, during the year, but I don't
I
remember.
knew she, one time, last time she came down, she was getting bad. Her mind was fading out on her. And she had a buckwheat cake and she poured milk on it instead of syrup.
Mm. Mm.
I remember fixing it up for her.
Mm-hmm.
She was getting bad that time.
Our mother died within a month of each other.
Mm. Wow.
1980.
Yeah, I think it was. But I think Mima Hott was older than my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you called Papa's mom, was Nemo?
Mm-hmm. Both of them.
Was there a food that you particularly loved when you were a kid?
Did I what?
A food that you really loved as a kid?
Something you like to eat?
I know I can't remember anything back then that
Mm-hmm.
I like to eat. I was trying to think of.
I can only think of buckwheat cakes. Mother fixed them all winter long,
Mm-hmm.
and we loved them.
Our house had a back porch that was
Mhm.
kind of long, screened in. Then the other side, we had a large, pretty long kitchen, and the other side had a doorway that went outside, and it had a little space to, like a, some kind of a space there that you could walk out on, and had steps down to the back of the house. And I remember, I don't know who was it, had some kind of a gun, and they let me shoot it. And I stood on that back porch, that little back porch, and when I shot it, it bounced me back into the house. And I never did try to shoot again, I don't think. I think it was the last time I tried to shoot, but somebody let me shoot it there on that little porch.
Papa, who taught you how to hunt?
We taught ourselves mostly.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we always had guns around.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
We-
Warden shot one in the house.
Over Baker, the gun was in the stairwell, pointing up to the ceiling. Dad had left a shell in his rifle. And there's Warden touched the trigger and shot a hole up through there. And that hole was there all the time we lived there.
And that one's from Uncle Dick, isn't it?
Dick did that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet
George-
you.
Jean said she and George used to crawl under the house and strike matches.
Yeah, we
Whether
do
they
that.
didn't burn the house down.
I bet your mom wasn't too happy with your dad when that gun went
No,
off.
she was very upset.
And he was too, and Warden really got a smacking.
Mother liked squirrel. She could really fix squirrel. And fish. She loved sunfish. She'd help us dig worms out in the chicken yard to go up, send us up to the bridge. Well, that was when the river was big, deep hole. She sent us up there to catch a string of sunfish. She'd help us clean them, fix them. She loved them.
How'd you cook the sunfish?
Fried them.
Mm-hmm.
She really liked that.
How'd she fix the squirrel up? How would she cook the squirrel?
Fried it.
Mm-hmm.
She boiled it first.
Boiled it first and then fried it.
Mm-hmm.
Made it a lot
Made it
tender.
tender.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have that here a lot. I guess either Dad, you either made it or
Yeah.
Meemaw.
Grandma used to make it.
I liked it. Fried squirrel with gravy, and
Mm-hmm.
it was good.
Now, I can remember when I was in probably early high school, maybe lower than that, it probably wasn't in high school yet. The river used to freeze over all winter long,
Mm-hmm.
and there would about half the town would go down there to the bridge when you first go into Petersburg.
Mm-hmm.
We would skate all hours at a time. There would be about half the town down there, and they'd make a fire out of tires or something. But
Mm-hmm.
we really would ice skate a lot. I remember that.
I remember growing up, we used to ice skate. Us kids would ice skate. We'd go up to the airport hill, to the pond, or Cherry
Yeah.
Hole, or different
Yeah.
places and ice skate. That was a big deal. Play hockey. There was always someone out there ice skating. You don't do
Yeah.
that. Don't see that anymore. I guess you just don't have the freeze like we used to.
No. Very seldom get a freeze. Like that.
Right.
Dad, you remember taking Dick and I hunting when we first started? I
Oh,
don't.
yeah.
I don't remember much. I mean, I remember hunting as I got older, but I don't remember like when we were pretty young going out.
Yeah. I took you out there to Fort Run, above the camp there.
Hmm.
We jumped a bunch of turkeys. I killed one. State police came by up there. We walked back down the road. He asked us if we did any good. I said, no, not much. And one of you guys spoke up and said, yeah, Dad killed a turkey.
Not what you wanted to hear.
No, I wrapped it up in my hunting coat. I don't think the season was in on them.
We had a dog that Kelly used to go outside every morning. She got up early. She'd go out there on the front porch. It was an outside dog, and the dog would come there to her. She'd lay out there on the porch, hugging that dog until we'd make her come in for breakfast. But
Hmm.
we had some good dogs.
Was there a kind of dog you liked in particular? Like a breed?
Any dog that I liked particularly.
Taffy.
Taffy, I guess, yeah, it would be. Is Taffy the one that laid outside the swimming pool?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That she would never come in the swimming pool. I would take the kids down to Ludwig's swimming pool, and I would sit inside a lot of times. I wouldn't go in swimming. I'd sit on a concrete raised up place, but the dog would never come in. There was a tree right there beside the swimming pool, and she'd lay there until we got through swimming and come back up. But this one day, she wasn't there with me, and all of a sudden she came running in the pool and got in between my legs and the pool there and laid there for a little bit. And then somebody came around the corner and said, Dick's been hit down here on his bicycle.
Mm.
And so Dick hit, he got, Mr. Leatherman was driving the truck, and he didn't drive too fast, but he was fast enough to knock Dick all the way down to the ditch there on his bicycle, because there was a truck lined up there, and Dick came right out behind the truck and hit, and Mr. Leatherman hit him, and he had a black place there in his eye, but he wasn't hurt bad. But that dog knew something was wrong, and the dog was with him, and knew something was wrong. Came running in there. But that's the same dog that used to go up to high school and climb up on George's
Old nice Rambler
on the top of it
vehicle.
and lay there till it was time for school to be out, and then he would come home. But it was a smart dog.
Mm-hmm.
It really
So
was.
Taffy would run from here up to the school and jump
Yeah.
on top of Dad's car?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember that. That's pretty cool.
You remember what kind of dog it was?
Collie, part collie.
Hard, yeah. Mixture.
That dog, what was Dick's dog that went down to the store? Which dog was that?
We had another one called Ginger. I remember Ginger and Taffy.
Well, there's one that Dick, when he moved down to
Luther.
Oldfields,
Luther.
Luther.
Yeah, when he moved down to Oldfields, that dog would, and they lived up, about a mile, wasn't it, or
Yeah, upper Genevieve.
from his house down to the warden's store. And after Dick was moved, living or working down in
Burlington.
Burlington, and after Dick went to work, that dog would run down through the field there and run to warden's store, and he would sit outside the store. And then before Dick got home, he would run back home, and he'd be home when Dick got home. But the people down there, some of them had pickups, and if they stopped at the store, they would say, "Jump up there, Luther, I'll take you home." He'd jump up in the back of the pickup. They'd take him up there and stop and let him out. But he was a smart dog, too.
Did you ever play an instrument?
Did I ever what?
Play an instrument?
Musical instrument.
Oh, no. I never did. Well, I was a band director or whatever, and I knew nothing about music. Somehow or another, they helped me when I had to do certain things, and somehow I got through it. They needed somebody to lead the music teacher. Why they picked me, I don't know, because I'm tone deaf and I can't carry a tune. But I was the majorette. I was the leader of the band, so for a year or so, I think. That was in high school.
That's pretty impressive that they made you band director and you didn't know any music.
That didn't know anything about music.
Y'all must have had a really good band.
Yeah.
Papa, did you ever play an instrument?
Oh, yeah, I was really good. Played the stand-up bass. We used to pick here.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Wright and Andy Seymour.
You
Ralph
did get pretty
Monroe.
good on it. You got pretty good on it.
We had a flood.
85 flood, I carried it upstairs.
Only
So
thing.
when you went,
You had to save the bass.
and I told those guys after the flood, I said, now this is the only thing I saved in the flood. And Jimmy Rice spoke, I said, why in the hell didn't you let that go? So that's where, that was my answer.
Did anyone else in your family ever play an instrument or sing or anything?
Wendell
Man, you are on top of things over here. You got the kitchen all ready and everything. Hey, Miss Moss, you got it all ready? All right.
well, we didn't do a thing.
Get it out there. Hello.
I don't know where.
So are you saying
Yeah,
that Uncle Wendell played?
he played the mandolin. So.
Oh, you played the stand-up bass here with the band. They used to
Yeah.
have camp with everybody.
But I didn't have any respect.
No.
Did you remember your mom or anyone ever singing you any songs or?
Mother could play the piano real well.
Really?
She could sing and play.
What is it? Here.
She had,
Oh, Grandma.
our grandma had an organ, pump organ. She would play that. She'd play that every now and then when we'd go down there to see her. Our grandma. But mother could play that.
Did she play there at the house, the piano that was in the house much?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had.
Yeah.
I remember her playing a little
She'd
bit.
sit there and play, sing.
I don't know where they got the money, but in the summertime, they bought a house over there, or their dad did.
Her dad bought that old place for the taxes.
Just what, yeah, for the taxes owed.
And they would go over there and stay some in the summertime.
We picked berries, raised garden. She canned. Gene and I would,
And we took the kids and we picked berries too, when we got older.
How long did she keep that house over there?
oh, we were growing up.
Yeah.
It's right on the
She
road.
sold it.
Hmm.
Somehow, some fellow wanted. It was a pretty good old house. Tacking them, Johnny Bowman would go over to camp, hunt,
Hmm.
you know. And every summer we'd have to.
Are there any songs in particular that you remember her singing or playing?
The hymns mostly.
I don't-
She could remember them, she didn't. I mean, she didn't use a book or music.
George's mother had a stroke or something. I'm not sure just what it was, but she was laid in the hospital and didn't know anybody or didn't open her eyes for a year. She was like that.
They kept her hospital
Yeah.
all that time.
Wow.
And then there was James Brady. He got into our life, I guess, when we came back and George had a teaching job. James Brady George kinda took James Brady under his wing, I guess.
How'd you meet James Brady for the first time?
George remembers
He
it.
grew up with us. when we lived there in town. He'd pull a wagon, and he'd always stop at our house there. We'd talk to him, kid him. He'd be a young fellow, barefoot.
Mm-hmm.
He never had shoes much in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
How much older do you think James was than you, Dad?
I don't know. He was. Miss Sims said that they tried to figure it out. He was about 86 or 7
When he passed?
when he passed. But I don't know. He was a kid with us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember him back when you were kids?
Oh, yeah. He hung around our house, and he'd go to the ballpark over there, an old ballpark. And he had most of the time he had an old radio he carried. He'd come over there and stand there and watch us play. We
I
just
didn't
got to
know
know
that.
him. He was just one of the kids.
When did you start to kind of take him under your wing as a coach and as?
When I was teaching there, he'd stop there and watch us. All the kids liked him. So I
Black
just-
people weren't allowed to sit down in the theater with the white people. There was a balcony in the theaters, both theaters, that had a balcony, and they had to sleep up there or go. That's where they had to watch the
Sit.
movies.
Yeah.
And then at restaurants, they had to go to the back door. They couldn't go in the front door with where the people were, white people were eating. They lived separate. They didn't live mixed in with white people. They,
But
I
they were
guess-
good black people.
yeah, they were, and
You never heard anything out of them.
we went to a different school back then. They had a black school here in Moorfield.
Sanders is up here, where the
And
Board of Education is now.
Mm-hmm.
so black people weren't treated right. And
Well, they had to tell Brady, he went to school with them over there on the Fork. He would go to school, but they finally had to tell him not to come back. It was too old for the kids.
Mm.
yeah.
We're going to school there.
Yeah.
But our kids played with the black kids. They lived right up the road from us, and they would play here and come down here and play with us. So we never considered. We just considered one of us. You know, they played out here a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They would go in the house. I don't know whether they came in the house, but you all used to come in the house up there, I think. You'd go in the house some.
They'd come in our house some, but probably not as much as we went in their house.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, we grew up. They were some of our best friends growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, good people.
But that's changed. I mean, now they can do the same things that the white people do. But it was a long time coming.
Yeah, they were, all our black people were good people.
Here in Moorfield.
First coaching, Dad, was there any segregation then, or was it pretty much all integrated? You didn't really have much race issues.
They had their own school. Refereed some of their ball games.
When you were coaching,
Yeah,
they had their own school then?
yeah, they had Sanders.
So when you first started coaching, were your teams pretty much all white?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
We had 2 or 3, the Morrises,
Mm-hmm.
was there, Redmonds were in our school. I had them.
Johnny Fields,
Well, Johnny Fields, yeah, I had later on.
yeah.
Were there any issues in Moorfield whenever the schools desegregated?
No. Never heard of them, peep out of them. They were good people.
Yeah.
Just,
And James used to work up at the restaurant,
he'd sweep the streets and
yeah.
in front of the restaurant. Things like that, little things that he could do. His mother worked in the restaurant, doing dishes.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember his mother?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
And his father, I don't know. I didn't know his mother or father, either one, but
I didn't know his father, but I knew his mother.
So did he come live with y'all whenever his mom passed away?
did we what?
When he came to live with you all, was that after his mom passed away?
No, well, it was afterwards,
Mhm.
but good while after.
Yeah.
He lived by
His
himself
mother
on the.
passed away when he was good, been young, younger.
He lived by himself over on the fork for a
Yeah.
while. So he
And
lived,
he lived in the old schoolhouse over there.
And
And
then
then
he moved in here where
an old house down there,
an old house.
moved him into.
I guess he never had running water, even in this house up here. People would
bad.
get him clothes, big bags of clothes, and he couldn't wear them, and he had them all in his living room up there, and it had a stove, and it was so hot you could hardly breathe when you went in his house. And it had an upstairs to it, but he never used the upstairs. I don't know what was upstairs, but
Wasn't
And-
anything up there.
all the chairs and couches were all had bags of clothes, and he never did try to wear them. I guess I don't know, but anyway, you couldn't even find a place to sit down, and he was going to die if he had to stay in that house much longer.
well, the '85 floods what really took it away.
Mhm.
When the flood came in '85, there was no way he could move back in there after
No.
that. So that's when you kind of got together. How did that happen, Dad? Did you decide to do that? And,
Well, the guys that came out to camp, I suggested we buy him a
Trail.
mobile home and put it back there, behind that old house.
mm-hmm.
Well, they all agreed to do that, but town wouldn't let us put one back there. It was an ordinance.
They couldn't put any more
Couldn't
trailers.
put any more mobile homes in.
Mm.
And we asked Joe Harvey. She had a big lot there, but she didn't want him up there.
That close.
We was gonna put one there. And she didn't want him there that close.
So,
But, and the last resort, we had to do something. Or he was gonna die. That old house was rotted off about that far up on the sides all around. Damp, musty, smelled awful.
So we didn't ask for any money to help us build him a place here in the backyard. But money, some people did send money, even though we didn't ask for any help. But quite a few sent us money.
Fire company built it.
And the fire company came
They
and did the building part of it, yeah.
saved us.
A lot of money.
They all come down and work in the evenings. They got her built.
Yep.
He lived like a king for nine years there.
He didn't know how to take a bath. He'd stand up in the tub. And George would make him sit down and scrub his back, and I could hear him all the way in the house. Miss Hott, make George Hott quit. He's hurting me.
I scrubbed him a lot.
So we were lucky that we had a lot of help.
Probably the best 9 years of his life back there.
People,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd go out there at night sometimes, just going out to my garage. And I'd look in on him. He'd be sitting there just cozy,
Right.
fire in the stove. He had 9 years of good life. Nice clothes.
Yeah.
She washed his clothes for him about every other day.
How often did he eat with us? Or eat with you all?
Oh,
Oh,
often.
very often.
Christmas time he was in here
He'd want 3 eggs.
ready to celebrate, get presents. A lot of the family gave him presents. They would tease him
Yeah.
and give him maybe 3 old gloves, or not 3, 2 gloves, pair of gloves, old ones, and wrap them up, and he'd keep unwrapping them, and he'd be gloves and gloves and gloves. He says, I don't want any more gloves. Of course, they were used. He wasn't gonna keep them anyway. But anyway, then finally he'd unwrap something, a shirt or something, and then somebody would try it on and stand there in front of him, and after a while he'd happen to look over, and they had his shirt on there, and he would go over there and try to take it off of him. So they teased him. They did tease him, but he laughed about it. But he came in every Christmas until the last time that he couldn't come in. He couldn't really get dressed, I don't think. And Russ went out and helped him get dressed, and he came in and sat on the stool right inside the door for about 10 minutes, and then he had to go back out and get in bed. He had cancer. He was pretty bad. So then he had to go to the hospital, but the only reason he went was so he could get better to watch Grimes play baseball. And that was Sherry and Joe's boy, Brian at that time. And but somebody was walking along the hallway one day when we were up there, and they kept looking in the house, in the room, and I knew they probably wanted something. And so I went there to the door when they went by, and she said, could my son come in and shake Brady's hand?
Oh.
And I said, well, sure, come on in. So he did, came in, and then at that time Brady was well enough that he could say something to him.
Mm.
But then he got bad when he couldn't talk to anybody much. One time he pulled all of his stuff out of his arm, and they called us and said, "Are you all coming up today?" And I said, "Yeah, we're coming up." He said, "Well, Brady won't let us put all that stuff back in his arm, and we want you to come up and then you all do it." So we did, and he was okay. We just had to talk to him a little bit, but he was okay then to let him do it.
When we got finished with his house, he got stuff from Martinsburg, Romney, Petersburg.
Oh,
People gave him a lot of stuff,
yeah,
But for the house,
clothing and
clothing.
blankets. He got a nice blanket from Martinsburg.
Hmm. Did it get written up in the newspaper?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a memorial over here for him.
he had you went to the funeral.
Oh yeah.
That was a odd funeral. That preacher didn't know Brady, but he said that he never preached a funeral like that because everybody was talking about him and laughing and talking about him. So, but his obituary was in the paper. I kept it. It's in the Bible.
May have to record a whole session on Brady.
Oh no, yeah.
We'll have to come back and do a whole session just on Brady and let you tell some Brady stories.
Oh, could talk to Brady all day.
Probably better wrap it up here today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be stories all day about him.
Yeah. All right. We'll wrap it up for now, though, since we got
Okay.
people coming over 4th of July.